seconds. Have you ever had to do that? Have you ever had to record only 10 seconds, but you want to get it into the groove where it's jam, and it has to have a resolution point at the end? It was a really fun project to do these.
Tough.
Yeah,
10
it was
seconds.
really fun.
That's how long that was.
Yeah, that's it.
Man, that was 10 seconds. I felt like 2.
And you were rocking.
2 seconds or 2 minutes?
And you were rocking, and you felt it. Oh,
Felt like 2 minutes to me.
So naturally, we're all drum gear nerds. We need to put you guys are like the Muppets, man. You need to have you're like the old guys, like just poking
He's
fun
like-
at everything.
That wasn't half bad.
He's the grump over here.
It was all bad.
Was that 2 seconds or 2 minutes? My gosh.
Falling asleep over here.
And you
Guys-
kind of look like a
this guy's
Muppet
leg
too.
propped
It's perfect.
up. I mean,
What are you doing?
This is the transition.
You got a footrest now.
That's important.
This is very important.
You're already lounging.
Yeah.
All right. So we're
my
big
New Balance
drum
sneakers. We're good to
gear
go, brother.
nerds, and this is the season of this item, and it's a big item for us. It's a small company. It seems like a big company because you see them everywhere. It's a small company that makes these. It's a small shop supporting a small company. Pretty soon we'll be huge in this awesome partnership, but we have to induct our 12th inductee into the Drum Key Hall of Fame is the Rockin' Sock Drum Throne.
Oh, that's why you were doing this.
That's why he has a footrest.
Okay.
It's the Rockin' Sock Drum Throne. Rockin' Sock Thrones makes a variety of different things. When they burst onto the scene, they had those ones with like 5 legs.
I
They had
remember
some
that.
with springs that would make you feel like you're falling out of your chair. Somehow that worked for a while. But this is like the hot rod of the Rockin' Sock Thrones. We typically stock the round top throne and the original style, which is like a motorcycle style seat. And we love the nitro base because it's hydraulic, just like a desk chair. You can raise and lower it to the proper height. It's got a little bit of cush, a little bit of bounce, take a little pressure off that tailbone, and it collapses up in your hardware bag, which is super nice. So we had to induct it. We had to make it for our first season.
Yes.
Calling it a season now. First year of Drum Key.
Season's good.
We had to have
Stick with that.
Rockin' Sock as part of it because it's super, really easy and great from our perspective to work with the folks over at Rockin' Sock.
Is it?
And like I said,
It
it's
really
super
is, yeah.
great. Good people.
Yeah, the great thing is when you call them, they answer the phone. It's one of those deals like hello Rockin' Sock, like when you call us, hello drums, etc. It doesn't go to a voice to mail. It doesn't go to this or that. Like they answer immediately. The people that work there have worked there for years. I've known Corey and the other people that have worked there for all of these years. I can email her. She'll email me back immediately. We're constantly placing orders for Rockin' Sock Drum Thrones, and we never seem to have enough. Right now we have a lot, but in a few weeks, I'm sure we'll be down to our last 3.
Yeah.
That's it's crazy. These are our best-selling drum thrones. They're most comfortable in my opinion. I've had a Rockin' Sock for years. I don't know what you play. We Adam and I were talking about that.
Probably
We're
some
like,
DW Throne.
probably
or something
DW
that you
Throne,
got.
yeah.
Yeah, 9,000. What's the creator for?
That's to pressure off your tailbone. It's the comfort thing.
Yeah,
Plus
for
it's
DW
less-
9000, it's
Yeah, it's a little less. It gets a little less swampy. Do I want to use
Yeah.
swampy?
I'd say swampy's the right word.
yeah,
That's kinda where I
swampy
was-
and less pressure on your tailbone.
That's the idea. Yeah.
And also the
He's gonna keep saying tailbone. at the same time.
tailbone.
And you guys keep saying swampy.
Swampy and tailbone. He just rings the bell. That's
Why
like
not?
washing away what we just said.
Yeah.
So Rockin' Sock Drum Thrones.
Yeah.
No, there's not much to say about a seat. I do want to take this time to point out the fact.
Seats are actually pretty important, I think.
They
Super
very are.
important. This is the number one thing I recommend when people get their first kit as far as the number one upgrade. It's not going to be a new cymbal. People, when you start drumming, you just need to get drums in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a little bit
Get
before you
things to
settle
hit.
in and you're like, eventually you're going to tell, I always tell this to parents who are buying a drum set for a kid, they're going to tell you what they want to upgrade.
Yeah.
Because they're going to hear these hi-hats don't sound like I hear, or the ride, or the drum heads need replaced. They don't sound quite right. And that's where you go, or this pedal doesn't feel right? But without a doubt, you need to have a nice drum throne.
And it's
super
usually
important.
it's overlooked a lot too. And I know coming up, you were probably the same way, and a lot of
Oh.
people are. Like, okay, you can settle on just sitting on a cheap drum throne, and if you had a little extra scratch, a little extra money, you're gonna want a new cymbal, you're gonna want a new snare, you're gonna want a new toy, maybe put new heads on. You constantly forget about the drum throne,
Yep.
and you spend hours on your seat,
Yep.
so it needs to be comfortable.
Yep.
If you're playing in a church setting, you spend so much time sitting down, and it needs to be comfortable. And I think Rockin' Socks are absolutely the most comfortable. So my money's with Rock and Sock. I think they're great.
So when I first started playing drums, I didn't have a throne, and my dad built a side table for my mom as a gift on Christmas. And it was sitting there in the basement pretty close by. And so what do? You just, oh, this looks like it's about the right height.
I'll sit on that.
Exactly.
So I grabbed it and I pulled it over.
Uh-huh.
Think of a piano bench, but about half as wide,
Sure.
and maybe not quite as deep.
You're sitting on a wooden table.
Had wooden legs that were the actual branches. They still look like branches. Can you picture that cool look? Yeah,
Wow.
it was that. Perfectly balanced though. He's a pretty good carpenter. And I practiced on that and I played shows on that.
Unbelievable.
I packed
No
it
way.
in my car with my drum set until one day I think I realized, well, wait a second, this isn't even what you use with a drum set. There's actually specific seats that are sold. Because for me, to your point, you see a drum set, you see cymbals, sticks, heads. Okay, this is what it is. But it's like, this is actually the most important part of as far as your contribution, because it's what you're sitting on. But think about it this way. So I used to think the gear is what made you a drummer. The cymbals made you sound good. The drums made you sound tight or made you sound like a professional. But you are the one hitting everything. You are the
Bingo.
most important piece of playing drums. And it hasn't been that long that I've realized that, and I wish I realized it a long time ago, because think about it. If you go to a drum shop and sit down at the kit, it really doesn't matter if it's the same one you used to play.
Right.
You are the biggest factor. So
Yes.
just sit down and play it.
Yeah.
The reason that it was so tough for me to figure that out, or I wish I figured it out a long time ago, is because I have to play backline kits sometimes. And when you play a backline kit, you're looking at that thing like, I can't play that. I can't play that thing. I'm scared to death.
But you do.
And then you sit down and you figure
Yep.
it out because you're the
Absolutely.
biggest factor.
I know. It's
It's so funny, man.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah,
funny.
It's all on you. And what I tell people, part of my like pitch, I say pitch. I'm a horrible salesman. I just tell people what I you know.
just say it out front.
I just say it out
Say the
front.
quiet part out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is good.
This is what happens. I say the number one determining factor, besides your own personal drive to be interested in the drums, especially if someone's buying it for a kid. Let's just go with that example. The number one factor that's going to make them want to sit down and practice for longer, besides their need to do it or their passion for it, is going to be how long they can sit there before their butt hurts or their back hurts. And if they're sitting on a lawn chair or they're sitting on like some piano bench stool or end table, that threshold is going to get hit sooner, which means they're playing less, which means they're progressing less, which means they're not reinvesting the time into it. So it is really important. That's why I always recommend that as the first upgrade.
My newest
a good point.
sales pitch now is when someone comes in looking for a drum throne, they say, we're looking to upgrade a drum throne, or we're looking for a new drum throne. And I just immediately go to the Rockin' Socks and I say, this is what you want. And I point to the rest that are all sitting over there. I said, we could just actually take all of those and throw them in the trash. We don't need those because this is all you need.
Yeah.
This is all you need. This is the best drum throne to get. And everything else is just going in the garbage.
Do you know what I say? My grandpa used to say it. Buy the best and cry once.
That's right.
That's good.
And I learned this one from Rick. Rick always says
great.
this. Rick says, no one ever said, darn, I wish I wouldn't have got the good one.
It's true.
So this is the good one. This is what you want. We sell all of the parts and pieces to this too. Anything breaks on this, we can replace it. The cylinder, the mount on the bottom, the NR mount, the feet. Every little part of this drum throne is fixable, repairable, and replaceable.
They're all pre-drilled.
I know.
They're all pre-drilled for backrests. So if you decide to put a backrest on it, you literally just tighten up 2 bolts and you have a backrest now. Or if you take it off. I play a Rock and Sock at my throne, or at my throne. I play a Rock and Sock at my throne.
You sure do.
I'm losing it with you guys. I'm playing a Rock and Sock behind my kit. Thank you.
I don't think you ever had it to begin with.
And I had a second one that I had a backrest for when I would record, and it was my desk chair.
That's right.
For a long time, I had a Rock and Sock as my desk chair because they're that comfortable.
That's kind of cool. I feel like I need to try it.
Yeah, try it.
This is it. This is really what people listen to podcasts for, is to listen. It's okay. It's okay. It's to listen to a drummer sit on a seat in the room that we're doing the podcast. This is
Yep, I'm
This
ready.
This is it. This
See
is
it
the
happen.
beginning of a new partnership. This is
Yeah.
wow.
Ah.
Feel that? That little give, nice and cushy.
You can adjust on the fly. I don't know if you use a hydraulic lift,
Isn't that
but
nice?
it's great being able to adjust on the fly like
I
that.
like that little bit of bounce. It's a little forgiving.
Yep.
It is nice to have.
This is it. You're welcome, Rock and Sock. You're about to have a new indoor sea
Yeah.
here shortly.
Sit on the front a little bit, but I thought that would bother me having that little
Yeah,
crater.
yeah.
Because when I look at it, I think, oh, that means you have to sit over the center of the throne.
Nope.
And I like to sit a little forward, but that's actually kind of
That's a comfy spot. Up a little
Where
forward.
you want to be.
Yep.
How
Yeah.
long are your sets usually?
I'm coming back.
Okay. How'd you like that? Pretty nice?
I give that an 8
There you go.
Wow.
out of 9.
Honest review right there.
An 8 out of 9.
It's always a scale for 9. Of course.
What was the question?
How long is your set?
Yeah,
How
yeah,
long are
your
you
set,
sitting
yeah.
on your throne
Yeah.
at a
Headline show.
Mm-hmm.
Longest one ever was an hour and 20. Let's just say an hour 30.
Yeah, that's a freaking long freaking time.
This last
Your ass is sore.
yeah, and a little swampy.
Yeah.
And a little.
You need something
A
comfortable.
little swampy. All right, I'm moving on. While they get their act together, we're going to jump into quick question.
Quick question.
And we're back. Oh boy, our breaks here are just something to witness, man. Our studio audience
John.
is losing it right now. Thank you all for being here and joining us for this live taping. So Matt,
Yeah.
we have another section called Quick Question. We joke about this because if you walk into a drum shop and you start off by saying, "Hey, quick question," it is not going to be a quick answer.
It's a great one.
never like a yes or no.
Yeah.
It's always like, "All right, here we go."
Yep.
Sean, as
Yep.
Sean says, we got to qualify the customer, figure
Yep.
out where they're coming from, talk about this. So that's what this segment's about because we have a little bit more time here. So here is the quick question for this episode. Hey guys, quick question. Why are there so many drumstick options and what's the difference?
Well, you see, you know how
This is
you-
life in our shoes. This is what we get
Sure
every
is,
day.
yeah.
So welcome. This is the hardest job. You think it's
Yeah.
hard playing for ABR?
Yeah.
We got to answer questions like this all day
with
long.
a smile on your face. I don't know, man. Just
See, this is how I would approach that situation. If
I tried.
you have to qualify them. So it's like it's usually a mom saying that.
Says that.
Or-
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, no, you do because this is what you do.
Qualify.
You have to qualify.
love
'em.
that.
If someone says, "Why are there so many drumsticks?"
Yeah.
and like, is this a drummer talking to me? Do they not know? Is this someone that's not a drummer and they're talking about their son, daughter, or their husband or whatever? So it's like, say it's someone that's not used to drumming or being around drums. You say, well, drummers are very opinionated and it's personal preference. Depending on if you're playing jazz, you want something smaller. If you're really bashing, you want something a little heavier. If you're doing a little bit of both, you want something right in the middle, something versatile. So that's why. And there's different lengths and tips for different styles and things like that. And drummers just like variety. So that would be my quick answer.
That's good. You know what my
That's
new
good.
my new line is?
I've said it before.
I tell people, I say,
I'm well rehearsed.
here's what I say. Especially if it's someone who I know is not really like they just want a quick answer. If they want a quick answer for their quick question, I give them this. I say they're all almost the same thing. They're all almost the same thing.
Yep.
And the difference is preference.
Yeah.
That's the quickest I can go through it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they're like, so a 5A and a 2B
Yeah.
is, but then this 5A has a different tip. And you're like, literally, okay, here's the rundown, people. I'm going to give it to you once and for all. Here's the order of sizes for absolutely no reason. 7A, 5A, 5B, 2B, 3A. That's smallest to biggest. Every company uses those and has those models. Every company is different diameter, different length, different tip, different shank. Everything about it is different. But those will be in the same order. If you play one of those and you want a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, look for the exact same thing you have with the corresponding number. But besides that, it's all made up. Mm-hmm. There are different things. There are different letters, there's no rhyme or reason really behind it.
Yep.
What I want to talk about, because we have an experienced drummer
Yep.
who's gone through the experience of designing your own stick.
Yep.
where did you start?
Yep.
And why did you feel the need to make a change? And what was that process like?
That's a great question. So I got approached by Vic Firth. This is going back 10 years, maybe a little bit more. And they said, we want to do a SIG stick with you. We
Okay.
think there's the demand for it. I said, okay, that's really awesome. What's the first thing we do? They said, well, we need you to figure out what you want. So we're going to send you tons of signature sticks and different styles. And you're going to play and play and play and figure out what you like. Well, I knew I already liked the Vader 3A Fatback. It was my favorite stick because there's more weight on the front end and you get more bounce back. It's felt right when I used it.
That's a very popular stick.
It's still my favorite. It's still one of my not my favorite. Well, it probably is still my favorite. I mean, not the Vader specifically, but 3A.
Yeah.
That style and diameter. So anyway, I got all these sticks
Yeah.
from Aaron Spears to Weckel to you name
Yeah.
it. The
Yeah,
whole
the
way
Vic
down through the
models,
list.
the
Matt
whole-
Cameron, the
yeah.
whole thing. And I played them all, figured out generally what I like and what I would want to make my own. And at that point, really, you're just saying, I like this, but I think we could try this. So
Right,
so I have
right.
shorter arms. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to make the stick a little longer. And I'm going to put a little bit more weight on the front end like the 3A has. I like the Matt Cameron stick a lot, diameter-wise. And then let's do a teardrop tip because I like the way that plays on my ride. I have a really pingy ride. And then from there, it's like, well, you guys put lacquer on your sticks. What if we do one that's just dry?
Yeah.
So that when you sweat, the stick
Gets
sticks
pursed
to your
up.
hands more.
Yeah.
So I was the first lacquer-free stick that Vic Firth did. And then you do the artwork for it. You sign your name 100 times. And I did this little whale logo that I put on it. And then you get this phone call. After a couple iterations of it, it's finally ready to go. They say, listen, man, this might not work. We are going to put this out, and we might be calling you saying
Yeah.
it didn't work. Not enough people bought it. We're dropping you. I hate to say that right now, but I just want you to be prepared. So you know that going in, and you know that there's a lot of SIG sticks that don't make it.
Yeah. And that's great communication on the company's part.
Yes.
Especially because at that point
Just be
you're kind of
upfront.
riding high and you're like, they're doing this for me. That
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
it's a big deal, but like it could disappear.
Yeah.
So you started out, like I mentioned those sizes, that's really the basis for all sticks.
Yeah.
And then variations. Those are 3As over there, Sean, if you want to grab those.
Yeah.
So that's where it started. But before you get your own like signature stick where it's something different, this is an in-between stick. We have one
Yeah.
of these.
So I
You're
have
so
to explain
prepared.
our a little bit of a
We're
story
good.
behind this here because Evan Shoebrooks, who worked here and also played with you guys, and he was a big ABR fan and a big fan of yours, and he had communication with you, and he said, Matt has his own signature drumsticks. Maybe we could get him in and maybe do a signing, and we had you come in, and we had these available. And I noticed immediately, I'm like, wow, okay, cool. Here's the ABR stick, Matt Greiner drumstick. And I looked at it and I go, this looks like a Vic Firth 3A. And then I noticed that it was identical to it. So this was like the first?
Is that like the in-between?
That is a really good observation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happened was we started off with the lettering. See, this says Augustman is red on it. So we started off with the lettering on a 3A, and I sold these, and I believe played them on tour. As a merch.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I think
As a
that's where
merch
he
item.
actually discovered it.
And then from there, we said, well, let's extend it, make it longer. The diameter is a little bit thick, so let's lighten it up a little bit. But that is 100% an observation that I
Yeah.
would not have made.
Only
I forgot
us,
about
dude. Look at
that.
that.
Yeah.
That's the same
I
stick
noticed
right there,
immediately.
man.
I
That
was
is
like, wow,
so
it's the same
Sean.
exact stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't that long after that your proper signature model came out.
Yeah.
Maybe a
Yes.
year later.
And we had them at the
boom,
store.
and we stock it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
been on back order for quite a while.
Yes,
but
it has.
Everything has been.
I
on back
just
order
talked
for a
to
long
Vic
time.
about this yesterday.
You giving them crap saying the guys at Drums Etc. need them.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
need 'em.
Exactly.
We have
We're
people
going to
that need
be,
'em.
there are 6 sticks being dropped. Mine is not one of them,
Gotcha.
which is good news.
Yeah, they're slowly.
So we're gonna be
there's
bringing 'em
been,
back.
I think there's been 4 releases since they suspended a lot of models in production because they were switching facilities.
Yeah.
So but we're seeing more and more every
We're
time.
starting
And I'm
to-
like, any grinders? No.
Yeah, I know.
Any grinders?
I know. We're getting there.
We're getting there. But I do want to mention as well, I've seen that before. I have a couple of sticks. You know, I've been to shows, and other people know I'm a drummer too. So if I ever catch a stick or someone else catches a stick, by the way, being the tall guy in the front of the show has one benefit.
Yeah.
You put up with people complaining about you, standing behind you. You feel like you have to crouch the entire time. But if there's a stick toss, I'm getting
You're
the
getting
stick.
it.
I'm like, you have no chance. And then you think you might have a chance, and then I jump, which adds a whole like 3 inches. I'm just a tall, skinny white dude. I got the stick, right? So
This guy.
I've accumulated a few.
Listen to it.
right? I've
Yeah.
accumulated a few sticks,
Yeah.
and I've seen that before. I have another one. I know my brother went to see a band years ago. He went to see him at the Chameleon of Montreal. Weird,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
of
I know
Montreal. Yeah,
Montreal.
kind of like a avant-garde type, cool jam, weird
Yeah.
band. I don't know too much about him, but he went to that. But anyway, their drummer plays Pro Mark 5Bs,
Right.
but has the signature on there. So these stick companies will do that for
Yes,
people.
they will.
They'll
They'll charge you for it. They'll make money, and
of
then you
course.
make money.
And then you make money. Exactly. So there is that kind of like in between step that you can have. But what you did was the real deal where
Yeah.
you said, hey, shave this off here, do this a little bit.
Yep.
And
it's
you're
an actual
yeah.
stick. I remember, this is a funny story. I remember having a conversation with Aaron Spears. I just thought about this. And he had a sig stick. And mine was going to be released. And then, so I called him. I said, hey, what can I expect from my royalty checks for these?
Right.
Because you get paid a little cut. And he goes, man, he goes, it's enough. It's enough to take your girl out on a nice date. It's enough to take your girl out. It's enough to take your girl out to dinner. I think it's exactly what he said. It's enough to take your girl out to dinner. I was like, all right. So I'm thinking like 60, 80 bucks, maybe $100.
Yeah.
Well, I get my check, and it's pushing $2,000.
Whoa.
Dude. You're like, wait a minute.
You
how
and Aaron
long-
Spears dined at two completely different places, or have a totally different idea of what a good
Aaron-
date or dinner
I'll
is.
tell you this: Aaron Spears must not be from Lancaster County because
He's
taking
taking
your
the
girl out to a
limo.
nice dinner is a different thing.
So I called Spears up, and
Oh, that's great.
and I said, hey man, where do you take your girl out to eat, man? That's incredible. And he goes, "Oh, that was your first." I think he told me this.
Okay.
If not, someone else
Yeah.
did. That's your first one.
Right.
They just shipped them all. So your first one's going to be huge, and
Sure.
sure enough, the next one was
And
like
it tapers down a little.
$150
Yeah.
bucks. you
Until
know.
it's just
Okay,
regularly like,
I
oh yeah,
get it.
drums
Yep.
etc. got another brick. You
Yeah.
know, it's like
I
that
get
kind
it.
of thing.
Exactly.
The restocking order versus the grand release.
The grand release is
Everyone's
big.
buying it. Everyone has it then, and
Yep.
then then you get to
It
see like,
starts
okay,
to
how is
settle
it?
in.
How is it performing and all kinds of stuff. So-
Exactly. Your first one's going to be big. How's it going to be after 2 years?
Right. Yeah. Well, we've done extremely well with that stick. Your
Yeah,
stick.
that's awesome.
Absolutely.
we
gotta get
should.
more in.
We should around
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we ought to
sure.
get more in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
know,
can't wait.
Dude, I've had them on back order. They won't even. At the moment, I can't back order them.
Yeah,
because
they
they,
won't
don't
allow.
have the date. Once they have a date, then I can back order.
Then you
a
can
ton
back order.
and get them. And
Get
They
'em in.
should allow you to have open orders. I don't understand why they don't do
well,
that.
they got a
'Cause
lot
then
going
it
on.
would be like
But
set.
I loved
After
the
the
look
year.
on Sean's face when you came in to teach a lesson the other day and you handed the kid a pair of your sticks.
Yeah.
And Sean was like, "Oh, I could sell those. We've been waiting for
People
those."
are calling me. People are texting me. Like, are the Mac Grinders in yet? And actually, he's one of the guys that plays those, Austin. And he was,
that's
every
cool.
week
I
he comes
actually
in.
got
He's
him
always
one.
So you
asking-
got him a pair of
He
sticks.
does. He does
That'll-
play those. But you
that'll
signed
last
him, so hopefully he keeps those. You know.
No,
at a nice
no,
safe-
I disagree
would.
with that.
Yeah,
I disagree with
Hopefully he
that.
sells them to the shop.
Yeah.
I love when Suckerman came to sign sticks.
Yeah.
Every person after he signed sticks, he said, "Actually play these,"
Oh.
Yeah.
because he wanted people trying his stick. Get more people playing your
Yeah.
stick, they'll buy more, whatever. He's like, he was like, "Don't set these on a shelf."
Yeah.
Like he's like, the thought of that is just sad to me.
Yeah.
play
yeah.
them,
Play them. Yeah.
play
That's
'em a little
cool.
bit. Unless you're like crazy like Sean and play butt end out, you're not gonna
That's right.
scratch off the signature or anything.
I do.
But he's crazy. Anyway, awesome. Let's
Crazy
dive
man.
into our last segment here where we dive into Matt's story a little bit more, called Between the Ply.